Here's the question quietly tearing Catholic families apart in 2026. If I believe Vatican II taught error, if I think religious liberty was wrongly defined, if I reject ecumenism as the Council taught it, am I automatically excommunicated? The answer is both simpler and more unsettling than you think. Let's start with the facts. On February 18, 2026, Father Davide Pagliarani, Superior General of the Society of St. Pius X, wrote to Cardinal Víctor Manuel Fernández, head of the Vatican's Doctrine office. The Vatican had offered a path to dialogue. Suspend your planned July 1st episcopal consecrations and we'll talk. Pagliarani's response was no. The Society argued that unauthorized consecrations do not constitute a rupture of communion unless accompanied by schismatic intent. The Vatican's response was immediate. Proceeding would mean a decisive rupture of ecclesial communion, schism. To understand what's happening, we need to distinguish between holding a theological opinion and committing a canonical crime. The 1983 Code of Canon Law is explicit. Canon 1364 states that an apostate from the faith, a heretic, or a schismatic incurs a late essentiae excommunication, automatic. But what counts as schism? Canon 751 defines it as refusal to submit to the Supreme Pontiff or refusal of communion with members of the Church subject to him. Note the words, refusal to submit, not disagreement with a council, not preference for the old liturgy. Schism requires an act of will, a decision to break. This is why Cardinal Gerhard Müller, former prefect of the Doctrine office, draws a sharp line between defending tradition and rejecting papal authority. A true reform of the Church can only take place from within the Church, he told EWTN recently. Staying inside matters. Now, what about Vatican II? The Council described itself as pastoral, not dogmatic. Dogmatic definitions require full assent of faith. Pastoral teachings require religious submission of intellect and will, but that submission exists on a spectrum. Holding traditional views on the liturgy or questioning council documents does not automatically make someone a schismatic. The SSPX itself maintains its objections are doctrinal, not jurisdictional. In their February 18 statement, they argued that schism requires assuming jurisdiction independently of the Pope's will. Since they claim they're not doing that, they insist they remain Catholic. But the Vatican sees it differently. An EWTN commentary called the SSPX's position a not-so-latent de facto sedevacantism. Why? Because the Society claims the modern magisterium has taught error so fundamentally that only the past holds the truth. In practice, this means setting up a parallel magisterium. That's the breaking point. Not preferring the Latin Mass, not questioning a council document, but functionally denying that the Pope and bishops in union with him are the legitimate teachers of the Church. Let's be concrete. According to Canon 1382, a bishop who consecrates someone a bishop without a pontifical mandate and the person who receives the consecration incur a late essentiae excommunication. That's what the SSPX is preparing to do on July 1, 2026, the 38th anniversary of Archbishop Lefebvre's original illicit consecrations. The 1988 consecrations triggered automatic excommunications. Pope Benedict XVI lifted those penalties in 2009. Now, if the SSPX proceeds, those penalties return. But what about the ordinary Catholic in the pew? The one who quietly thinks the council went too far, who drives an hour to a Latin Mass, who worries the post-conciliar Church lost something essential. Here's the verdict. No, you are not excommunicated for your opinions. Canon law requires a public act of defiance, knowledge that the act violates canon law, and freedom from coercion. Holding traditional views, even criticizing council documents, does not meet that standard. What does meet it? Apostasy, heresy, and schism. If you still attend Mass, still receive the sacraments under a Catholic bishop, still pray for the Pope by name, you haven't crossed that line. The real crisis is that the SSPX two surviving bishops, Alfonso de Galarreta and Bernard Fillet, both in their late 60s, must consecrate successors or face extinction. The Vatican has drawn the line. Consecrate and you choose schism. For the rest of us who love tradition but love the Church more, the path is painful but clear. We stay. We fight within. We pray the doors never lock behind the prodigal sons. As Cardinal Müller said, a true reform can only happen from within. The moment we walk out, we lose the right to call ourselves reformers, and we lose the Church we claim to love.